I'm going to take the opportunity here to sort of follow up on Senator Ernst's questions with regard to the gray zone in particular. Have you had a chance, Ms. Sam, to look at any of the authorization language that we recently passed, trying to get our hands around better tools for working in that kind of an environment in Eastern Europe and trying to apply some of the lessons learned from other conflicts in the world?
I was happy to see that the FY17 NDAA approved the Global Engagement Center. I was less happy to see that its funding was cut at the same time its mandate was expanded. But I know that there have been other efforts, but
I'd love to, in follow-up to this, share some language that we incorporated, Senator Ernst and I, in the Emerging Threats Subcommittee to try and wrap our hands around some of these challenges and see what you think of that, and really for all of you. I was glad to hear you talk about the importance of our State Department and public diplomacy efforts in this region. You know, a major part of our strategy for Russia malign influence has to be proactive, not just reactive. And we certainly need a robust public diplomacy effort and transparency if we're going to be able to combat the kind of propaganda vacuum that they often operate in, where they're really, in some places, there just is not a counterbalancing communications effort to RT or Sputnik. Can you talk a little bit about the strength and capability of that, and what authorities and, frankly, resources do we lack in terms of that effort? Go ahead, Ms. Sam.
Yes, so I would say our officials who conduct public diplomacy are very skilled. And so when I say that we lack capacity in the region, it is not to in any way impugn the quality of the people doing the work. That said, there's not enough of them. It's not coordinated enough. It doesn't have enough money. Russia spends $1 billion a year on propaganda efforts. I would say we're also not using every tool that we have available to us. Why aren't we using military information support teams in Eastern Europe? Why aren't we using that? That is a tool that would allow us to present truthful information to publics that would otherwise be impenetrable to a U.S. message. It does this by veiling attribution. This is not against our values, but it does allow us to press advantages. Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we working more with the public sector, with social media, with advertising? Again, as I said, I think if Russia can be creative, then we need to be too, and this is an area where we haven't gotten our act together, quite frankly.
Mr. Wilson, you listed exposing Russian actions as one of your five, the list of things that we should be doing aggressively. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how we make that more robust and more assertive and fill that vacuum?
Certainly. Let me pick up on that last word, the vacuum. I actually think the gray zone, as you call it, is one of the most important parts of where this will play out, because it is where Russia sees its buffer. It's where Russia intentionally sows chaos and insecurity. From our interests, if these countries not just survive, but if they thrive, this is an existential challenge to the model of corrupt authoritarianism. And therefore, Mr. Putin sees their success as something that actually painfully knocks on his door close to home. That's why I think part of our strategy, yes, is to expose, and Ukrainian journalists are at the forefront of actually understanding how to manage this now. We can learn from them. But I think more importantly, the people in the region understand that their future is uncertain, that Brussels and Washington are not quite certain what to do about it. I think the best thing we could do to fill the vacuum is to actually help have clarity that our goal ultimately is to eliminate the uncertainty of where these countries lie, that they're not going to be in some gray zone between East and West, that they have an opportunity to gain a rightful place as part of the free world, if you will, and thereby a concerted joint NATO, U.S., EU strategy that is focused on growing their economies, strengthening their defense capacities and their militaries, and helping to create Europe on their ground, visa-free travel, for independent media. This, I think, is part of the broader strategy. If they could see a coordinated effort out of Washington, Brussels, Berlin, that was committed to operationalizing the fact that they have a future option in the free world if they can get it right at home.
I'm out of time, but just a real quick yes or no. Is it a problem that we seem to be sending all of our allies mixed messages, that we undermine transparency and we're creating overtures to the president to Vladimir Putin at the same time as we're saying, hey, we're going to be with you. You can rely on us.
I think it is a problem.
Thanks.
I would say there's a lot of confusion in Europe, what's going on.
It only helps Putin.